So 2014, I don't think I get my first start till Easter Sunday. Like, I'm up. I don't get my first start till Easter Sunday. I'll never forget because I get 2 hits that day, but that ain't even the highlight of the day. We had a Easter Sunday, like, bench clearing, like, kind of brawl. Like literally punches were thrown, and I'm like, you know, I'm trying to keep the peace, but I'm in there with my guys, but I'm thinking to myself, like, man, I got 2 hits, man. This is my first start. Like, hey, we got to get this game back on.
Welcome to me casa, make yourself at home, do your do. Welcome to my pad, this your lab, go create your move.
This episode is brought to you by Subway. What's good, everybody? It's 99 Miles Per Hour Podcast with me, your host, Perci Garner. And if you're new here, I would like to say thank you. On this podcast, we talk about life and sports. So if you like the content, I'd appreciate it if you like and subscribed. And also make sure you hit the bell because then you'll be notified next time we go live, because I am doing some live streams now. It's scary, but we're going to do it and we're going to keep it coming. And yeah, we're trying to get more baseball players, and we're going to cover all sports too. But like I said, if you're liking the content, make sure you like and subscribe. We're going to keep coming with it. And I got a special guest today, but before we get into the guest, I want to make sure you guys are aware the merch is still up online. And remember, all the proceeds go to help a high school student in my home county. So go throw the website, percigarner.com, some love, and help out a high school student with some college fees. And then also, if you want to join the 99 Miles Per Hour Discord, it's focused on pitching because that's what I know. But, we're trying to grow the community to cover all baseball. So that link will be in the description as well. But all right, hopefully I didn't miss anything, but I'm excited to get to our guest today. So this guest today, we've been trying to get on a podcast, but I mentioned last episode how I kind of dropped the ball, lost communication, and I'm not very good at texting. I get sidetracked. I'm a man. That's what happens. So, but our guest today is from Cincinnati, went to the University of Cincinnati, is actually a Hall of Famer at the University of Cincinnati, which is, amazing. We're going to get into that as well. Was drafted by the Cubs and made his debut in 2011 and turned that into an all-star career. Still playing. I ain't trying to insinuate nothing. He's still going, but he was an all-star in 2014 to 2017. We share the same agent, and there's some stuff I got to thank him for in my career that he probably didn't even know he did, but also hosts a camp. Not sure if he's still doing that. I remember I helped a little bit at the camps, but he's just doing a lot of things while he's impacting, kids around the world. And obviously he's a family man as well, celebrating 10 years of marriage with his wife, Brittany. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we got Josh Harrison on the show today. What's going on, Josh?
What's going on, Percy? Appreciate you having me on, man. Always a good time catching up with you.
I know it's been a minute since I'm a civilian. I'm out in the real world.
Y'all civilian.
Yeah, I like it. And but yeah, man, I'm very excited to have you on the show. And today we're gonna talk about obviously the great career you've had and continue to have, and talk about some family. And I want to focus on the thing that I don't think I'd ever have the confidence or courage to do what you did. And we'll get into that as well. And then I want to talk about you and your wife Brittany's foundation, because I have a soft spot for giving back. Hopefully a lot of people have that soft spot, and then obviously you and Brittany do as well. And then, we'll end with some tips for some youth, not, mechanical or hitting stuff, but just some stuff that you learned through your career. So, I'm looking forward to the show. But let's just start with one milestone that I think is pretty cool that I don't really think about, because I'm a pitcher and I'm trying to keep the hits low. But you got your 1,000th hit during the 2022 season, which is amazing. And I think you passed the 10-year mark of playing. So I didn't realize. Time goes fast, which everybody knows. But 10 years in the league, 1,000 hits, man. How does it feel to have that accomplishment going on? It's not like you dream your whole life to go, hey, you know what? I just want to play 10 years in the league. Like, that's not what you think, but it's kind of nice to be like, oh, wow, 10 years.
Oh, yeah, for sure, man. I got part of 12 seasons at the highest level. But anybody that plays a sport, we've dedicated our whole lives to it from a young age. And to look back and reflect on it and know that I've played 10 full major league seasons, definitely a blessing, man. Especially considering some of the adversity I've gone through just while being at the highest level. I had a stretch of 4 to 5 straight seasons where I spent at least 6 weeks on the injured list. Multiple questions of, am I still going to play? It was never a question to me. But, I also understand people asking that question because a lot of people don't return from injuries, especially multiple. And something that, I don't take for granted. And as you said, it definitely goes fast. And to be able to reflect on that, to say, I got 1,000 hits, and I'm still going, especially after, some of the adversity that I've mentioned, it's definitely a blessing. And it's not part of the reason I smile, that's just part of who I am. But, setting out to play this game, I live in a moment and don't really get a chance to reflect on things that I've done in my career. And that was one of the more special moments that I can remember, especially here as of recent.
Yeah, and it also happened, you had a birthday too. So would you turn like 40 or something? No, I'm playing.
22, man, 22.
No,
that was a wild, I won't say a wild week, but, the same week that I turned, 35, I don't look it or feel it, but, and 5,000 hits. So, kind of my own birthday present to myself,
nice.
Yeah. But, I just remember, I think I pitched that game too. I think if I remember correctly, no,
hey, you messed it up. I was going to bring that up later too about you pitching too, but
I got a crazy memory because I'm pretty sure I'm the only person to pitch while recording a career milestone hit, which was cool in its own, but at the same time, if I'm on the mound, we're in a bad spot.
Yeah, and I wanted to come to that game because it was against the Guardians, but
yeah. No, I think it was Minnesota.
It was Minnesota?
I think it was Minnesota.
It was right around there though, because I knew I wanted to come up to that game and holler at you, but
right after that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a stretch of division play. I think Cleveland came in right after that.
Got you. Well, that's cool. You recorded your 1,000th hit against Minnesota, and I recorded my first strikeout against Minnesota. So that's what's up.
Thank God for Minnesota.
Exactly. But no, man, that's like, I just wish, not like that my viewers got to know like who you are. You obviously talk about smiling and stuff, and we share that, and I don't know that's what connected us to Jonathan because, he's always smiling and full of joy as well. But, obviously I love having you on the show because you're a great player, but, through all my interactions and just what I've seen from, social media and everything, it's just, you're just as good as a person as you are a player. So I just kind of wanted to, talk about that a little bit and talk about, how family you are. You got 2 daughters and, being a girl dad, I got a boy and a girl, but we all know the girls, we wrapped around the fingers.
Sure. You got 1, I got 2.
Yeah. So, and I know you, like I said, 10 years of marriage, but I want to just talk about like, playing while you have daughters, because my daughter, she doesn't know me as a baseball player because she wasn't born yet. And to me, when she sees me, she's like, who is that you, Dad? I'm like, yeah, that's me. I used to be athletic, but because I think she's going to be my athlete. So, but, okay. But having 2 daughters, like, what does that mean to someone like you who is always positive? And I see you as a positive, role model in all aspects of life, not just baseball. But what's that look like for you at home?
Family is very important to me. It's everything to me. And just growing up, I was the youngest of 3, 2 older brothers. Very close-knit family, big family on both sides, my mom and dad's side. And I got an uncle that played 11 years in the majors, coached for 40. So baseball's always been, kind of in our family. But more than that was something that I've always learned from my uncle is, one, never give them a reason to see that you're not working. Don't give anybody a reason. But also just being how I grew up, being the youngest of 3, being very observant, very humble family. My mom and dad, I got 2 older brothers, as I mentioned, Vince and Sean. And I may be a little biased being their younger brother, but at the same time, I'm being realistic for the state of Ohio, city of Cincinnati, two of the best athletes I've ever seen in my life. And I was the youngest brother, beneficiary of, you know, being that annoying little brother that was too small to play with him, but also, you know, they got to take me along. So I probably never scored. They probably didn't pass me the ball. You know, if I got down, I wasn't going to pass it. You know, but at the same time, when I got amongst my peers, there was nothing that my peers could, you know, do to intimidate me, because I had two older brothers that pretty much put me through the ringer. And as I said, both of my brothers, all world athletes. I'm the youngest of three. I can remember coming home from school, answering phone calls from any Division I college in the nation, calling for either one of my brothers. My oldest brother Vince played football and baseball at UK. Middle brother Sean played JUCO baseball. Life takes us all in different directions, but you know, I can just remember being at home and University of Michigan, University of Miami, Southern California. You know, I'm taking messages, and both of them are 5'11", 6 feet in high school. My senior year, I'm 5'6", 155, soaking wet. You know, and at the time, you know, size is something that was very big as far as being recruited, no matter what sport. If you were 6 feet and you looked the part, oh, you got an opportunity to go to the next level. And as I said, my brothers were outstanding athletes, and not once did my dad ever brag on us. And I think that was something that, you know, always stuck with me. My parents never bragged on us, when I tell you they had every right to. They had every right to brag on us, but not once were they, my son this, my son that. They were always appreciative of, you know, us being able to go to college, not have to come out of pocket to pay for school. Those small things that, you know, kind of get thrown to the side when people look at athletic families. They tend to look at the big picture, playing in the NFL, NBA, MLB, which is all a bonus. But for people to have kids, if they want to go to college, you know, sometimes the athletic scholarship can definitely help when your family may not have the means, you know, to pay for 4 years of school. And seeing my parents never brag on us was something that, even to this day, you know, has kind of stuck with me, and why I carry myself the way that I do. Because no matter how good you are at something or whatever, it can be taken away. That's all a blessing. That's just you know, icing on the cake.
True. Yeah, and I that's hilarious that you mentioned that, because I told Percy he has to get a scholarship somewhere. No.
Oh, but seriously though, like in the way that life is now, college is even more expensive than when we, you know, were coming up.
Yeah. Yeah. And I chose out of state school. You know, I wasn't very smart, but
Hey, but that school was a good fit for you. It
worked out.
Provided for you. And I look at it, as I said, man, I signed my national letter of intent the same day I graduated high school. So humility is something that's always been a part of what I've had to go through being the youngest sibling. I didn't have a space to talk. You know, I had to wait my turn for everything. And as I look back and reflect on some of the things I've gone through, has definitely helped me get through the adversity that I've dealt with multiple times throughout my career at various levels. And that's just from my home bring and knowing that as quick as you can get it can be taken away.
Yeah, and it's you kind of overlook it until you get to where we're at in our lives, and then you understand later on, once you're, you know, in college or maybe even out of college, that dang, my parents is right. They actually know what they're doing, you know, and then you start to appreciate them.
We all got our own minds, think like, oh man, I should be doing this, or this is what I want to do, and then you have those aha moments like, man, mom and dad, y'all, you know what? You're right. I was a knucklehead, but at the same time, you know, that's part of life, especially having kids. You can try to mold them, suggest things, but ultimately they're their own individual and they're going to make decisions. But you just hope the things that you kind of instill in them, you know, may be in the back of their minds. Because, I mean, we're all human. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to make our own decisions. But knowing that you got people there that genuinely love you and try to guide you in the right way, you know, allows you to get back on track if you kind of fall off.
Yeah. I mean, it's all part of growing up. I realize the support I got from everywhere, family and all that. But, you know, I don't know if you were blessed like me, but high school coaches and even college coaches, I was blessed. So I always kind of look at that because I hear horror stories when I get to, you know, pro ball, and you hear my coach did this, my coach was like that, especially in college. They like to take advantage, and it's a lot of, you know, sad stories, but You know, fortunately, I didn't have to go through that, and I was, you know, I'm always thankful for, you know, the people that I've met, and I don't know if that's, you know, just the company that I keep that sends me there, or if it's, you know, by the grace of God, which obviously it is, but it's just a lot of situations that I found myself in where I was just very thankful, not always in the time, but, you know, like we said, later on.
Sure, because I feel the same way. Like, we all know people that, as you mentioned, have had horror stories at various programs of pro ball. And I won't sit here and say that I haven't had any myself. College was great to me. I have no issues with what I went through at UC. I played as a freshman every day. Considering I signed to go there the day I graduated high school, you know, I was like the last signee. But, you know, I look at all my experiences, and not everything has been great for me through all the levels. But I can look back at my college years and know that, you know, they let me play right away. And I also look at, you know, I don't take things for granted. As I said, having an uncle that played in the major leagues and coach, my oldest brother, who's actually just got hired to coach in AAA for the Reds in Louisville.
Yeah.
Always been, you know, in my corner, especially, you know, since my senior year of high school. Not that he wasn't always, but there's a 7.5 year age difference between us. And my senior year of high school was like the first time that he really got a chance to see me play and be around me. He was actually home rehabbing from a broken wrist. So he helped coach basketball, but baseball, he literally was like he was an assistant coach, but he literally was putting our baseball team through, like, not pro workouts, but like attention to detail, you know, not like a normal high school program. Go hit, go take ground balls. Like, when I tell you our batting practice was, hey, if you rolled over, there was 10 push-ups for every rollover ground ball you hit in BP. So you see guys getting out of their cage and doing the Willie Mays Hayes on the side of the cage. And I kid you not, first, if you took a swing and you popped it up and you hit the turtle, your round was over. It didn't matter if it's your first swing or your fifth swing. Dang. So all attention to detail that he was able to bring back to us, we seniors in high school, we like, no, man, we want to take BP. Granted, I'm not like that. Neither was a few other guys. You know, I think we had 7 or 8 guys that went on to play at the next level, whether it was, you know, NAIA, D2, D3. But we went from my sophomore and junior year being knocked out the first round to my senior year going to the state Final Four, being one pitch away from playing the state championship. And it was just, you know, having that experience of, you know, that's my brother. I get to talk to him. I got that outlet. But my teammates, not everybody has an outlet of somebody that's played pro ball that understands the grind of the ins and outs of what it takes, to the small details of why teams win, why teams lose. And like I said, that was a blessing in disguise for me. My brother, I guarantee, which I have no doubt in my mind, if my brother doesn't, you know, have those injuries, we're playing against each other in the major leagues at some point in my career. But, you know, life takes everybody different ways, and he was able to channel that energy to, you know, help me further my career, because he helped me my senior year of high school. And then I go to UC, and he tore his quad that spring training. So even my freshman year of college, he was back home helping me make that transition from my senior year of high school to freshman year of college. And I'm playing every day. I'm getting tips from my brother who's in pro ball that's played in college. Hey, pay attention to how they pitch you on Friday night. They're going to pitch you that same way on Saturday and then on Sunday. Where some of my teammates are not saying they're trying to figure it out on their own. We all are. But my brother's giving me these ins and outs of, hey, college works on tendencies. If they're going to stay away from you 80% of the time, look for this. Watch how they pitch you Friday. They're going to pitch you the same with it. And help me make those adjustments that you got to make at each level, you know, because as you progress, you're going to have to make certain adjustments physically, mentally. And like I said, being the youngest of 3, when I was young, I was just trying to be around both him and my middle brother, because they literally all world athletes, and kind of came back, you know, full circle when it was kind of my time. I was a late bloomer, late developer, but I had my older brother that was pretty much there to help me, and a little closer with my middle brother in age. So the various times that I thought I could beat him up and I lost, you know, always helped me with the whole, you know, tenacity of never giving up. You know, I'm going to get you one day. I'm 7, 11. I never got him, but, you know, that will to never give up, because I'm going to compete. If I can compete against my older brothers when I get amongst my peers, there's nothing that can keep me from having that confidence.
Yeah, and I just, I knew at some point I was going to cover this, is just because how in football, they talk about quarterbacks extending plays, but you never hear that in baseball. But you were like the baseball play extender, and like, no matter what it is, whether it's diving at a ball, running backwards into the outfield that no one thinks you can get to and you get to it, or it's, doing probably what you did with your brother in the backyard, getting in rundowns and trying to figure out a ways to get out of them and making dudes look silly, because not everybody is, gifted in a multi-sport kind of way. And you could take things from different sports and bring them into football, bring them into baseball. And what I always loved, like when I would see you on Top 10 or just on SportsCenter, I'm like, man, because it would just make me smile every time I saw you. I'm like, man, this dude is, even when you make a play, like, you're just always having fun, and that's the way the game should played. And I struggle with that, like, throughout my career. And sometimes I might be in the clubhouse and I see, oh yeah, Josh Harrison makes diving play, or Josh Harrison, tags up on an infield fly, or just something like that. You're like, what the heck did this dude do? And it always brought a little smile, a little pick me up, and that's what I was, I guess foreshadowing earlier when I was talking about things that you didn't even know you did. I was just always like, man, because I knew you as a person. And I knew, I was like, this dude is a positive dude. And when I see you make plays and get your shine on ESPN and stuff, it just always felt good to see somebody like yourself, getting the shine. And especially because it's not like you're, like you said, with the humility, you're not always like, what, I'm Josh Harrison, this is what we do. You got to have the confidence on the field. But you never carried yourself as an arrogant way, which we all run into to people like that, especially in the baseball world, especially the, people that get a lot of money and the signing bonus and all that. But we just had Mark Leiter on the podcast last week, and he was talking about, like, how you just mentioned that you had your brothers and uncles, and just to give you tips that not every coach can give you, because not every coach goes to college or professional levels, and they can give you the tips that typically aren't there. So Mark with the same, his dad and uncle pitch in the big leagues, and it's just a different advantage, and not everybody takes advantage, but obviously you did. So I appreciate you sharing that, with your brothers, because it's not always you get the chance to shine the light on people that, maybe you knew were great athletes, but injuries or something, like you said, takes them on a different path. And, we didn't know them as a great athlete, but now not everybody can transfer into coaching. But obviously Vince has done that and done a great job, and has a long career as a coach, because he came from the Diamondbacks, right? To go to the Reds. Yeah,
he was managing. Let me think. He had managed the past like 3 or 4 years. He's been a hitting coach, been a manager. So he's got his experience, in a lot of different fields of the coaching ranks. And he was up to AA as a hitting coach, and then went back, to be a manager. And when this opportunity, presented itself, I think it was, I don't want to say a no-brainer for him, but, one of the things that, a lot of people don't tend to think about are, the daily things that we miss out on. He was in Hillsborough, which is out in like Portland. Being that far, he's got 3 kids.
Yeah.
So you away from family, being away from, your kids, being away from your mom and dad. And, this was like a blessing in disguise. He's in Louisville now, an hour and a half, 2 hours away from home. Every Monday is off. He's got the opportunity sometimes on a Sunday to say, I'm going to go home for this day. I'll be back Tuesday. I get to see my family. All those things help with, the emotional part of what we deal with as players and coaches, because, one thing we do is sacrifice a lot of time with, our families. And I mean, even last night, the whole Bengals and Bills game was just a, eye opener for people to realize, like, you saw the empathy that people poured out for DeMar Hamlin and the Bills, as far as, it's bigger than football. Yes, these dudes wake up every day, think about playing football, just like I wake up, hey, how can I get better at baseball to help my team, this, that, and the other. But, last night was a situation where it's like, we're human beings first. And, the son is somebody's, brother or, good friend. And, you take a step back and realize that, the sacrifices that we all make, money's not everything. People think money, takes that away when, money's just a byproduct of what we do. it's not the end all be all, because just as fast as we can get it, it can be taken away. But you're always going to be somebody's son, somebody's brother, somebody's friend. And that goes way further than being an all-star in whatever sport you play.
That's true. And I liked how they were on social media showing clips of him, with his family and not the play, which is good, And I there's little tiny bit of good positive energy on the internet. So,
right. Hey, I mean, that's the world in general. We live in a negative world, and negativity is easy to highlight because it's always around us. That's why it's nice to highlight positivity, because there's a lot of positivity going around. But what do they say? That's not sexy in some eyes. You know what I mean? Like people like drama. We live in a world full of reality TV that people. I want to be the first to say this is what happened. This is negative. We're spreading rumors. It's like, that's fine, but let's spread some positivity, because at the end of the day, that's why I'm positive. Negativity is going to be around.
Yeah.
So why dwell on negativity? Yeah. I acknowledge it. It's going to be around, but I don't want to dwell in that space, because you know what, I got to put positive energy out, because it's apparent negativity is going to be around me. Yeah. Everybody.
And you definitely do. And just to end that, like, my mom never flew anywhere to see me play before she passed, and I blame it on the negative thing, because they don't talk about the 99.9% planes that are landing.
Yes, right.
They talk about that one that crashed, and but that's the world we live in. We both acknowledge that. But
Dad didn't take his first flight until my junior year of college, when we were going to the Big East tournament. When I tell you my dad drove everywhere, I mean, we all driving everywhere. My brother Vince is a junior in high school. He's going to play in Pensacola, Florida for baseball. We in this brown van we call Big Ugly. Bro, we called it Big Ugly. That was the nickname for it. I mean, mom, dad, me, both of my brothers. I even think my aunt and my cousins were with us. Like, we drive down there, and I'm probably 7. My brother is a junior at UK playing baseball at LSU. My dad and some friends, they ain't flying. They driving down to LSU. My year of college, my dad drove to Florida Atlantic for our opening series. My junior year, we opened up Miami, Florida. He drove to Miami. It wasn't until that spring he took his first flight back down to Florida for the Big East tournament. But my dad's the type, he was going to drive everywhere. So I get it. Nah, man, I can control the driving. You know that. You know what I mean? So no, I understand it. I get it.
Yeah. But that's funny, man. The Big Ugly. I love hearing stories like that, man. Now the thing that I kind of wanted to talk about, I love talking about family, and we gonna get into we talked about your daughters and stuff. I don't want to leave Brittany out, but we'll get to that when we talk about your foundation. I wanted to talk about I forget what it was, 2015, when you're going through arbitration and negotiations, whatever it was. I'm not, I know we got the same agent, but obviously he can discuss all that with me. I just knew he said Josh bet on himself, and it worked out. And I'm just like, I don't know if I would have been able to do that, but and I know Brittany was probably in your ear, and then you had the Pirates saying, "Hey, we need you to do this. Come on, sign." And then you had Jonathan saying, "I don't know." But just fill me in real quick how that went.
I can remember, because 2014, that's my 3rd year in the big leagues. I've been up since 11. I was up all year 2012. 2013, I was optioned 5 times. Service time, I'm like, so 2014, I don't think I get my first start till Easter Sunday. Like, I'm up. I don't get my first start till Easter Sunday. I'll never forget, because I get 2 hits that day, but that ain't even the highlight of the day. We had a Easter Sunday, like, bench clearing, like, kind of brawl. Like literally punches were thrown, and I'm like, I'm trying to keep the peace, but I'm in there with my guys. But I'm thinking to myself, like, man, I got 2 hits, man. It's my first start. Like, hey, we got to get this game back on. And things kind of come full circle. That's my first start. I got 2 hits, didn't start the next day. So I'm talking, and I talked to my brother Vince, and at the time, let me think, he might have been, no, this was the year he stopped coaching. This was the one year he didn't coach. The previous year was with the Pirates. And I'm talking to him, voicing my frustration, like, man, I don't know what I got to do, like, to play. Like, I've been here for 3 years. And he was like, man, just keep doing what you're doing. He's like, I got a funny feeling we're going to be laughing at this at the end of the year. It didn't even take to the end of the year. I remember calling him when they told me I made the All-Star team. It hadn't been announced yet. And I called him. Obviously, he's coaching. He was coaching. He was away because he couldn't make the All-Star game. And I called him. I was like, bro, remember you told me we was going to be laughing at the end of the year? He's like, yeah. I was like, we got to wait till the end of the year. He's like, what you mean? I was like, I just got selected to the All-Star game. And, he's like, see, told you, man. Like, obviously thrilled for me. I ended up playing the rest of that season, have my, career year. And I remember going into the offseason, me and Jonathan, hey, I'm going into arbitration. I'm like, all right, finally, I can get paid what I'm owed, or, I put in my time. And I remember we are probably 3 days away from the arbitration deadline where you got to agree to numbers or you go to, court, and Pittsburgh reaches out and say, hey, we want to offer you a deal. And obviously Johnson's like, okay. They send the first offer, but they go, they kind of put a time constraint on it. Like, you got to let us know by this time. And I come into the off season not worried about a contract extension. I'm like, I know I can play. I know I've proven myself, but like, I'm arbitration is next. We've never thought about a contract extension because it's never been talked about or whatever. And I remember telling my wife, like, when it comes through, she's like, you gotta take it. We've never seen what they originally offered me, and I'm like, I know, but man, I still feel like the numbers don't seem right because I know that's life-changing money. Like, we would be fine, we'd be set, but I still feel like I'd be selling myself short because one thing, after a lot of prayer, talking to my uncle, I actually called him, and he was like, man, if the money's there, he flat out told me, if the money's there, take it because you will get another one. But it's like, make sure it's what you want, and don't be selling out to say, I want this. He said, don't give them a number. Just kind of let it fall in place. But like, they came to you, they will come back. And I remember after, some prayer with my wife, I'm like, you know what? I'm not ready to make this decision because I came in prepared for arbitration in 3 days. And then they just threw this contract extension at me and tried to give me a time limit when it's like, wow, man, I need a little bit more time to process this. And the time that they gave me wasn't enough time. So we end up, we counter offered, and they just said, tables off, the offer's off the table. But as they offer, I'm thinking everything like, J-Mo, what if we don't accept though, they ain't gonna come back. Like, what, these never been gone through it before. Yeah. I'm like, I don't want to say no, and then that dead ends the like, I'm thinking all these things, but at the same time, I know what value I bring. I know what to expect. And he goes, no, trust me, they won't take it away. He said, I mean, we may not agree to terms, but he said, keep in mind, they approached us. We didn't approach them. And I said, okay, that was good to kind of, have him tell me, like, we didn't approach them, they approached us. So the first offer, nobody accepts the first offer, or I mean, for the most part, you're probably not, especially if you go to them, they ain't gonna accept your first offer. Like, you know what I mean? There's that back and forth. But I remember not agreeing to it, and then we go to arbitration, and I kid you not, like, the whole arbitration day, like, some teams are filing trial, which I don't know if you know what that is, but some teams won't talk to you, and it's like, you either accept our number or we're going to arbitration. Like, and it's probably an hour and a half before the deadline. We haven't heard from them. They call first number. We're going to say this number. And we had a number in mind. I remember the numbers, like, we're not going below 3. We're not going below 3 million, because after doing the research, comparables, J-Mo's like, I think we started at like 3.5. They started at like 1.8. Dang. And yeah. First offer comes and J-Mo goes, no. And then they come back and they give a couple comparables, and it's like, J-Mo's like, that doesn't make sense because this dude's a left fielder. My guys played second, short, third, and he had better numbers. So you're offering the same deal when he's got better numbers and he's played more positions and offered more, I guess you could say, flexibility to help a team and this or that.
And didn't you almost win the batting title that year?
I was second. And I just remember we going back and forth. No. And we get to like 5 minutes before the deadline. And they eventually come up to the number 2-8. And I mean, if the deadline's at 3, this is 2:59 with 58 seconds. And they go 2-8. And I mean, we were one of the last ones to file and agree, like, as you know, the verbal agreement. But when we got to 2-8, I remember telling J-Mo, I was like, I'm good with 2-8. Because we had got down to 3. I was like, we're not going to go below 3. But when they came up pretty much a full million to 2-8, I was like, I'm not going to go to court over 200,000. I had a team who I'm not going to say his name, but he was one of my locker mates. And it was early in my career where he was going through the arbitration process. I remember we come in after BP one day and he's got like a manila folder in his locker. And this is probably May. You know, we're a good month and a half, 2 months into the season. And he's like, I got mail. I don't know what it is. It was a bill for the arbitration process that he had to pay.
Oh.
And he ended up losing. But I'm like, you got to pay for the arbitration process, you know, over so many hours and over, you know, $200,000. What am I really arguing about? You know, I'm already making more money than I would have imagined coming into this season because I was making a little bit more than league minimum the year before. And I'm like, I'm not going to go fight over $200,000. Like, you know, I'm in a good spot. 2.8 that's fine. And I remember going into spring training, they even try to hit you with what happens if you get injured? You know, they try to hit you with the scare tactics. Well, we came to you weren't. What happens if you get injured? What happens if you don't have, you know, as good of a year? Or, you know, is he going to be different in spring training? And, you know, J-Mo was one thing that Jay Hay is going to be is he's going to be himself. He's not going to be any different. He's going to be with his guys. He's going to show up. He's going to play. He's going to be him. And I remember being in spring training. I'm going through spring training and it's like a week left. We're getting ready to leave in like 3-4 days to go open up in my hometown in Cincinnati. And I have a meeting. The GM literally calls me in the office and he goes, like, pulls me aside, like, let's talk. I said, okay. And I'm very aware of not speaking numbers, this or that. And he goes, I thought there was some mutual interest in a long-term deal. And I said, there is. Like, I've been here for 3.5 years. Great place. Me and my family, like, love the guys in the clubhouse. Got some great things going on. We made the playoffs the past 2 years. Like, we got something on special here. Who wouldn't want to be here? And he goes, okay, cool. I said, I'm not asking for $100 million. These were my words. He said, I ain't asking for $100 million, but if you want to get it, I'll take it. And he laughed. Like, he laughed. But I was just like, but then I said, no, just being honest, man, I just want to be treated fair. Like, if this is what's going to happen, you can get with my agents. We can make something happen. I want it to be treated fair. And we literally had something come up and they were able to come up with some. And we actually agreed. We had a game opening day and then an off day in between the next two. So I had actually agreed to the terms before opening day, but it wasn't announced until I remember we played opening day in Cincinnati. The next day is an off day. I have to go get my physical in Pittsburgh to, you know, complete the contract. But when I tell you there are no straight flights to Pittsburgh, when I tell you there are no straight flights to Pittsburgh, they had a car pick me up at like 6 a.m., drive me 4.5 hours to Pittsburgh. It's raining. 4.5 hours to Pittsburgh to do my physical, to complete my contract. You bring me back that day, and I get home, and then the next day they announce my contract. You know, my contract extension, which looking back on it, man, was so cool because, like I said, we opened up in Cincinnati, Great American Ballpark. They did a press conference at Great American Ballpark for me and my family, and I think they said it was the first time that a visiting player had a press conference there since Derek Jeter was named captain. So like it was kind of a cool experience. My parents, my wife, my oldest daughter Mia, my aunts, uncles. Like it was a cool ceremony for my family to be there, and it happened quick. But yeah, it was. I went from focusing on arbitration to like, man, it came at me with a contract offer, but I wasn't ready for it. But the first one was like, man, how do I say no? Because I've never seen that money. But having J-Mo say, you don't want to take it, but I work for you. If you want to take it, you know, me and Mike, we work for you. If you want to take it, by all means, take it. But just telling you as an agent, it's not a good deal. And when it was all said and done, my deal was double what they originally offered me.
Dang.
But I flat out, as you said, bet on myself. I told J-Mo, I said, after praying and thinking on it, said, I didn't come into this offseason worried about a contract offer. And for them to throw the fear of being injured and this and that at me, I said, I've never played this game fearful, and I don't want to make a decision being fearful. So I said, let's go into arbitration. And we end up getting the contract done, and it was a blessing in disguise from that moment on. 2015 through 2019, I spent at least 6 weeks on an injured list every year.
Dang. Yeah, and you had talked about that and the adversity, and being injured is a different type of adversity, especially in sports. But that's dope, man. Obviously, because I think you were in the MVP votes too. You were in the top 10 there too.
Yeah,
so it's like
I was top 10 MVP votes. I was after 2014, and I mean, not anything that I ever set out to be like. I play the game hard. I know what I'm capable of. Was it a surprise to you? I'm like, no. I've been an all-star at every level I've been, so being one of the major leagues wasn't a surprise to me. Regardless of what other people thought or this, I said I don't really put too much emphasis on what people think, because all I worry about is, proving myself right. The thoughts and the beliefs that I have for me, it comes from me. My motivation doesn't come from anything outside. It starts with me.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. That's so dope. I'm glad I finally got to hear, because, J-Mo shared a little bit, and we started talking about it whenever I got the deal with Adidas. And I knew, you played a little role in there. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but I feel like J-Mo used you a little bit in your deal with Adidas to get me the deal. So I was like, hey, appreciate you, bro.
Well, I always told them if they could keep it in the family. I said, hey, keep it in the family, because I went out on the limb with Adidas too. I was Under Armour before that, and Adidas came, and I was like, man, I'm going to give Under Armour every opportunity because that's who I've been with. But, things didn't work out, and I was like, Adidas, I've always been one too that wasn't necessarily like a follower or whatever. Said, Adidas, I ain't really got nothing going right now. But they were able to, like, no, man, this is the gear that we can send you. The merchandise off the field. I'm like, yeah, I can keep my family and some cool stuff, but at the same time, I saw what their vision was. They were getting back into baseball because they were a soccer first, company. And I was like, well, man, I would rather help lead the wave than let it be on the wave and then me come over. Like, I'm not the follower type guys. If it takes to be different, I'll be different. And I was one guy that I think they said they send me more shoes than anybody, because, some guys got cleats was like, I only like that style. Me, I'm not superstitious. Send me the lows, send me the highs. I wear my pants up. I'm gonna switch it up. Like, and they was like, man, we like sending you stuff because you'll wear everything. I said, superstitious. I'm gonna keep some flavor. I'm gonna switch it up.
Yeah, I can't lie. I'm superstitious, but dude, Adidas, the heat they brought to the baseball world, it was dope.
No, it was. They did.
But no, man, that's what's up. But before we wrap it up, I wanted to, just get some information, because, maybe I want to get involved, or maybe someone listening wants to get involved. So the Josh and Brittany Harrison's for Hope Foundation, can you give me a quick elevator pitch about that?
Yeah, so me and my wife Brittany, she owns her own business, has since college. She went to school for information systems. She was an IT major. But she runs her own business, has since college. And both her and I, as you mentioned, we got two daughters, Mia and Kinsley. And you know how it is as a parent. You see your kids and the necessities. You make sure that they have the necessities: food, shelter, clothes, things that we tend to take for granted. And we were noticing there was something we were involved in Pittsburgh called Blessings in a Backpack, where it provided meals for kids that didn't have food on the weekends, basically. And we were just like, man, we have kids that don't need or want for anything. Our two daughters, blessed, fortunate. And kids are something that's always been, on my heart, my wife's heart. And it's basically a foundation that helps kids from the minute they're born to the age of 18 in various ways of need. We've had like coat drives. We've even delivered like hats and scarves and stuff to the homeless shelter. We had a baby shower for expectant mothers from the women's shelter. That's very big to my wife. Some women at the women's shelter may be pregnant and don't have, bottles. They don't have a tub for a kid. Certain things that as you have kids, you look at and be like, man, my kid has everything that they need and want. There are kids out here that don't have water, that don't have, a place to sleep. And just something for us to feel like there are different areas of needs to make sure that, kids that tend to be overlooked, that any way that we can help. We don't do it for any recognition or anything. Obviously that comes with the territory sometimes of what you're doing. But even before we had kids, it was always on our heart. But once we had kids, it was like, it's even more apparent because, our kids don't have to want for anything. They have the necessities that, as I said, we all kind of tend to take for granted. Having a place to sleep, having clothes, having family members around that can encourage you. Just being able to interact with some of the kids, even on the coat drives, man, it was cool, because all kids, man, they just want to be loved and have somebody to encourage them. And I can remember I'm in Pittsburgh, and I'm a sucker for kids. Like, if you're doing what you're supposed to, I have no issue, rewarding you. And, and I know how kids are. I remember we're telling them, you got to get a heavy coat. It's cold in Pittsburgh. You got to get some boots. You got to get some gloves. And, they're going around, they get some coats, they get some boots, they get some gloves, but they keep going to the shoe section. Man, I want them KDs. I want, they said, and some kids grabbing them, and some of the workers like, no, they said you can only keep the boots. And I was like, no, let the kids get a pair of gym shoes. But I said, y'all got to get some of them Columbia boots or something. I was like, you got to get out of here with some cold weather gear. I said, if you want those, you have to get the stuff that's on the list. And just one of those things where it's like, man, these kids, I look at it to where, if it was my kids, nah, you just going to get the winter stuff and we're going to go home because you got enough pair of gym shoes at home. You know what I mean? And just something like that, like, man, this kid probably doesn't have a pair of gym shoes at home. I have no issue supplying that, because what one person won't do, you never know what could change a kid's outlook on life, what type of impact you may have. Somewhere down the road, they may pay it forward, have a foundation themselves where they're helping kids that was in the same situation as them. And just something to know that, man, I have my kids, I have, my wife and kids, that's my family, that's my world. And knowing that I'm able to provide for them and that they have all the necessities, always helps to take a step back and know that there are other kids that need help.
That's dope, man. That's dope. That's the thing that I believe most about that. Obviously, the work you do is great, but you said you don't do it for any recognition, and that's true because I never even heard about it. And I've never heard you talk about it. So I'm like, that's obvious. But if there's a link you can send me or something, I'll put the link in the description if people want to give to it or something like that. Because I'm always looking for causes outside of the ones I currently support. Just because I like giving back to different things and for people I believe in, and obviously I believe in you. So that's what's up, man.
We'll definitely exchange that, because I want to say that I don't know if the website's under reconstruction. My wife said she was going to do it because we did have somebody do it, but I told you she's an IT major. She wants to go in and add a few things to it, but like I tell you, she's so creative. I don't have that gene. That to a T, but yeah, we'll be able to definitely connect that information, because we just got our board switched to Cincinnati, because when I was in Pittsburgh, that's where my original likeness was. That's how we got it up and running and off the ground. And we had some good inaugural events that was able to help fund. And even through my foundation, I got a couple of things in the works as far as scholarships for possible for my high school and at UC, like giving back, just some things that, and it's not necessarily sports related. You know what I mean? Granted, yes, what I do is sports, but, it's going to be geared towards some kids that want to further their education that may be in a different situation from other kids,
That's what's up. Well, I was going to get into some tips, but we'll have you on the show maybe next year. Well, it's 2020.
I mean, I can give a quick tip nugget to the kids out there.
Okay. I'll word it like this. So usually I ask, like, hey, if you're, 17-year-old, 16-year-old Josh Harrison, what would you, give to, someone that age? But I want to say give to, what can you get? This might be a little tricky. What can you give to a parent who has a child that is playing? Because, one of the problems right now is umpires and referees, because parents is crazy. So what little tidbit or tip or just something that you could say from maybe something you experienced of just to hey, this is what I enjoyed as a kid, and you obviously didn't have parents that were overbearing, cussing out umpires, but
I'd have got if I looked at an umpire referee the wrong way, my dad, man, you getting off the field.
Yes. Same my way.
I definitely got a little bit, just for parents and kids, especially times have changed from when I was in high school to now, even with the whole social media presence of, you're seeing what other people are doing. Just a tip of advice, honestly, is to keep your nose to the grind, focus on you. It's so easy to get distracted now looking at your peers signing to go to college or what they're doing, how they're working out. As I mentioned, I graduated the same day I signed my national letter of intent. I didn't really have any offers. What kept me going was knowing that it's a process. It's a day-to-day process. I can't get too caught up in what's going to happen in the future. I can't get caught up with what the person to the right or left of me is doing. I have to focus on me, because everybody's got a different path. Everybody's got a different story. But if I'm focused on your story, I'm taking focus off of what I have to do. I'm not going to get the most out of what I need, or I'm not going to get the most out of myself. So a lot of it comes with the comparison of stop worrying about what your counterpart is doing, because we had the saying, if you ain't working, somebody else is. And if I'm worried about what somebody else is doing, the time that I'm using to worry about what you're doing, I could be using to get myself better. And to know that there's no set time or place to say you have to be doing this at a certain age or this or that. I was a late bloomer. I wasn't a late bloomer as far as athletic wise, just late bloomer. I didn't get a little taller to my senior year. I was always undersized, but I could play. But if I was focused on what my friends who signed in the fall of our senior year, I had friends sign in September. Oh, I'm going here, I'm going there. People, Josh, where you going? I don't know. I'm probably going to go to JUCO, but not because of grades. I'm going to go to JUCO so I can play at the next level. Didn't have any offers, and just stuck my nose to the grind, kept playing. Helped that I had my brother in my corner to keep me focused. But we went to the state Final Four, and that's where UC got to see me, Indiana, Northern Kentucky. I started getting Ball State. I'm getting calls the last month of high school when it's like, man, y'all really don't have any money left, that last month. But UC ended up being a blessing in disguise. Some guys got, drafted. I ended up getting a 70%, and I signed the day that I graduated high school, which is kind of unheard of. You sign the day you graduate, you're probably going to get 10% or we'll give you books. I got a 70% scholarship the day that I graduated high school. So I wasn't focused on what other people was doing. And it's easier said than done, especially nowadays. But my tip of advice is enjoy the grind, but anything that you do, make sure you're having fun. If you're not enjoying it, what's the point of doing it?
True. I like that. That's dope, though. I didn't know you got a 70% scholarship. That's what's up. Well, man, I appreciate having you on the show. Thanks for, sharing all that you shared. Obviously, you're blessed. You know that, and that's why you chose to share your blessing. And I'm pretty sure those kids in Pittsburgh now and wherever you're touching, kids, that seems to be your weak point. But thanks for coming on the show, and tell your family I said thanks too for allowing you to step away to look at my ugly mug.
My wife actually just went to pick up the kids. We literally got back at like 3 a.m. from Mexico celebrating our anniversary. So they were with her, but she went to go get them, allowed me to do this. That's why you don't hear any. My daughter actually tried to FaceTime me while we were just on, though.
Yeah, my camera messed up because I forgot to plug it in. But thank goodness I got somebody here to, cover my mistakes. But
we all good.
Yeah, but no, man, I appreciate you joining us, and yeah, man, we'll be watching what you do in this next season, 2023, and I'm excited for it. I know it's January, and that's when people start going down to train for spring training. But I'm really excited to see what you're doing.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, have a good one.
All right, bro. You too.
All right, everybody. Appreciate you guys tuning in. This show will be up next Tuesday. And like I said, like and subscribe. We'll have all the links that you need down in the description. And leave a comment for me and Josh, and you'll be seeing this up again on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. Everything is going to be everywhere. Make sure you give me and Josh a follow. His socials will be in the description as well. So I appreciate everybody. Peace.
I got a crib by the water. Say me casa su casa. It feels like Casablanca. Shawty, you my little mama. I got a crib by the water.